We're going to talk about the game we've been delayed talking about for long enough. Arsenal versus Chelsea. But actually, before that, I do want to talk a little bit about your FA Cup semi-final against Man City. Do you feel like that result and the way in which your team performed, do you think that carried into this league match?
I'm not so sure. I think the changes did. I think he's punished a team that worked bloody hard in that game. Really, really hard, keeping them at bay. The goal was the goal. Sometimes you just have to sit back and say there's nothing much more you can do.
You did miss a lot of chances, though.
We missed the loads. Shamon Jackson, he's better off betting the bloody musical rather than on the pitch, mate. Be the secret Jackson brother they don't know about. Oh, no, that lousy footwork. We had chances to win the game. I'm going to take that. That is like, we gave it a go. Like, we gave, like, the likelihood of us winning was slim, but I genuinely thought good that we could take him. I don't know if that necessarily carried in. I think the changes that he made really did us over. Looking at that, I was looking at the lineups yesterday. I'm thinking, why have you done that to them? They played really well. They worked their socks off to try and get something. Yeah, they come in, we lose 1-2-0 yesterday. That's different because they worked for it. Or if we played for a draw, I don't know.
So looking at the lineup and the changes that he made, who would you have started then? If you could do over the match yesterday, what 11 would you have picked?
Chalobah's starting.
Yeah.
Chalobah's starting clearly. Like, it's good to see him back in the fold after so many threats of him leaving. I love having him there. He's a great player and a great example of the club. Puts 100% in all the time. Badiashile, he ain't doing it. He's so, and I think it was kind of unfair to put him in. He's been so injury prone. It was not fair to put him in that game as well. Cole Palmer, there's nothing much you can do about that. He's ill. Then again, with how much he's held this club on his thing, I'll be feeling sick too.
Good question for you on that. If this was a cup final as opposed to a league game, if this was a match where winning it would put you back into Champions League, do you think Cole Palmer starts
in that game?
Yeah.
Even if he's ill, he'll find a way through. Champions League final 2012, our defence was filling all kinds of knocks. We're playing with half a defence. Some of our best players were suspended. David Luiz and I think, who else was on them? Gary Cahill, both carrying knocks. And they knew that going into the game. And by the end of it, they're probably in so much pain. But sometimes you've just got to work through it. It's a very kind of old-fashioned way of looking about it, but it's what won us a trophy.
Yeah,
it's what won. And sometimes you realise that for all the talent that we have, and you can argue per player we have more talent, but we lack grit, we lack determination, we lack, fight. Like that young fan said, it's like, I don't want your shirt. I want you to fight for yours. And sometimes fight will get you through the door. Fight will do, and imagine fight with the talent. That's a dangerous combination.
100%.
And it's I can talk for days.
I mean, we saw that with Ryan Garcia in the boxing. That's fighting talent and determination. Everything leading up to that boxing match, people thought the match should be cancelled. They thought he wasn't in the right frame of mind. Look, he won.
Yeah,
and he bet on himself and won big. But yeah, no, I was at the game and it was an interesting, or getting into the stadium, obviously midweek games are always a bit tricky, post-work and then getting in there. So it was a bit of a mad dash to get in time for kick-off, but got in as the players already out lined up as the cameras do the usual thing when they pan by and to announce the lineup. And then obviously we could start hearing you lot making a bit of noise, Chelsea fans in there. Then North London Forever came on, or The Angel as it's officially called, and we started singing. And we just kept on giving it. For me this season, I'm still trying to work out whether the Man United game at home or this game at home had the best atmosphere. I wasn't at the Tottenham game, so I can't really compare. Was I at the Tottenham game?
You're the women's one.
Yeah, not the men's one. I wasn't at the derby for the men's. But I was at those two games. Man United at home, Chelsea at home. Both atmospheres was amazing. Both games had moments of heavy nerves, the Alejandro Garnacho goal, which was ruled out. And then when it was ruled out offside, the atmosphere was crazy. But for me, I think that set the tone. The fans came ready to play their part, and I think we did. We created a great atmosphere. I think Chelsea made a good atmosphere as well. in defense. I think you guys were quite loud. At times, I was a bit annoyed with the fans around us not making the noise.
Gotta do something.
But you guys did a lot, and it was good. And then we got going. And I think one thing I want to point out before we talk about the goals, and they were beautiful. And I'm glad that Ben White managed to get back Mudryk with his, was it a cross, was it a shot goal? I know Ben White, he probably meant it. Maybe not, who cares? But for me, there's one thing that's missed in watching the game on TV as opposed to live, and that's what players do off the ball and how things work. Now, we know all season everyone's been talking about Odegaard and how he presses and how he's like leading the press for Arsenal. Out of possession, when we were trying to defend against you, we set up a very interesting shape. At some times, it looked like him and Havertz playing as a front two, a bit deeper. But the shape that I noticed was Odegaard was basically playing as number 9 or false 9, pressing the ball. Havertz kind of drifted out towards the left wing-ish. You had Saka on the right wing. Then behind them, you had Trossard kind of, again, further out. And then you had Partey and Rice sat next to each other as a 2 in the middle. And then you had the back 4. And I remember I was telling one of the fans next to me as well in the stadium, just watch Odegaard, what he's doing in the press. At halftime, I was telling him like what he was his signals trigger. So he would, you guys were passing it across the back, going nowhere. He went from the goalkeeper to your centre backs, back out to the young right back inside. When it came back inside, Odegaard did a little signal to Havertz to come in, and that's when immediately we started to compress you. Havertz was coming in from the left, Odegaard was running towards the centre back, and then all of a sudden you try and pass the ball into midfield. Immediately, if it wasn't Saka winging the ball back, it was Partey putting out one of those long octopus legs of his, blocked the ball, and immediately we're on the attack. And that happened on so many occasions. I was like, we figured it out. And the one thing I think Poch should have done, and what I was telling the Arsenal fan next to me at the stadium, I said, you know what I would have done if I was in the situation with Poch? I'm not changing us playing out from the back. I'm telling Enzo, get back and you get the ball off centre backs, because Enzo's a player who can break the press with his passes. We've seen it in the World Cup.
Yeah.
He can do it. But you kept trying to do the same thing, and there was so many times when we just lulled you into a false insecurity. Because your centre backs, they're not good on the ball. They can pass the ball, but they're not good on the ball.
They haven't played for a while.
They ain't good on the ball. You don't have Thiago Silva back there. If he and it would have made a big difference. But they did what they need to do. What was your take on Arsenal's opening goal from Leo Trossard?
Yeah, no right to score for that angle. When I saw it, I was like, that is such a tricky angle to go for.
I was behind that as well. I was up in the clock end. That was where we were sat.
He's coming up with the vital goals, man. He's really like what he scored against Wolves. He scored again somewhere else. I want to say he scored somewhere else as well. Bayern, yeah. He's coming in like he's becoming a bit of a clutch player for you. Like, bit of a Solskjaer, Drogba-esque kind of guy where you might not get a lot of goals. He gets important goals, like an Origi cult man. He's a cult man.
And the thing I love the most is that, and actually what one comparison some fans have made to an older Arsenal player is like he's got that kind of Ljungberg air to him.
He
just gets goals.
Cult like guy just gets important goals. So no, that first goal was like that was good. And even like Ben, when does Ben White score, man? And when he scored 2, I'm not saying Ben White's a waste man or anything, but when does he get 2? Like, and it's for real. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie. Third goal, I'm done. Third goal, I'm done. I put on WRC. I was like, I had my phone thing. I was in my phone, super mute. I look around thinking, nah, you don't deserve to be on my nice TV. You're watching on my crappy broken phone. How dare you?
And you know what the funny thing was? Arsenal, we've developed quite a lot of chants throughout the season. They're getting more and more creative. Obviously, one of the ones that we love, which we used more for Tottenham, but we used for Chelsea this week, was Chelsea get battered everywhere they go. The other one,
joke.
I forgot what I actually now have forgotten it. I've forgotten what the other chant is. But effectively,
is it Havertz?
No, it's not the Havertz one. That one is you can't forget that one.
And that was a good goal. Not that first one that Odegaard passed. He said that I was so annoyed because that was a good goal. That lovely outside pass, thing defender, Cucurella's putting the burns on, can't do, and he ain't knows only so much a poor guy. He was the only guy doing anything on the pitch. The only guy. I felt for him, but oh man, good goal. Really annoying, but a good goal.
It's a good goal. I mean, Havertz had a very interesting game. First half, he was very frustrating. He had a chance early on when he should have shot and he went for the pass. The next chance he got, he should have passed his shot. It looked like he didn't want to score against you guys. And a few of the fans were getting a bit annoyed. I was okay with him up until the third chance. I was like, okay, mate, now you got to sort it out now because like this is a team. Their fans don't like you. They don't like you anymore.
Okay,
we have openly embraced you. And then gave the celebration with the reindeer ears. And I mean, look, it's the love of football. It's you get those moments. But I think what was important for Arsenal was getting that second goal when we did. And then there's so much detail in that goal that's just so fascinating for me. Beyond Ben White's shithousery against Cucurella. In fact, that's the picture you're going to see as the thumbnail for this episode. But the other moment for me was also how Saliba moved Enzo Fernandez to play everyone on side. It's a subtle thing because obviously in the box you're marking people. The corner gets played short, goes out to Ødegaard. And if you just watch it, just as Ødegaard's about to whip the cross in, Saliba is just jockeying with Enzo Fernandez. And because Enzo is not a defender, at a certain point, you watch the line, you just leave him. You leave Saliba and keep going that way and he'll be offside. You know, he follows him in. He stays goal side all the way. And then when that ball gets played to Saka, Saka hits the shot, it hits Partey and falls to Ben White to hook it in unmarked. The reason why Ben White is onside is because Enzo's behind.
Such a poor goal to concede. Like, there was no one around him, and he had no right to finish the way he did.
And it was the reaction of Cucurella as well. Like, you know, he was jumping up and down like a toddler. He was like his brothers. I had to laugh at it because, you know, they've played together at Brighton. Obviously, I don't know if it's this friendly rivalry or whatever, but you could tell that there was no love lost there between the two of them. I mean, There's even a moment before that set piece where Cucurella tried to bump into, was wrestling with Ben White. Ben White just chucked him to the floor. I was looking at him like, what? What's your problem? Get up. Like, what do you want? Like, wait, like, what do you actually want? Like, get up off the floor. Proper, amazing performance from him. And I think also it really just goes to show how much this dispute between him and the England coaching team, it's starting to look more and more ridiculous. Like, you've got a very good player who's one of the best performing right backs in the league this season, comfortably should be on the squad for the England national team. Whether you play him at right back or centre back, it doesn't matter to me. He should be going into the Euros. But for some reason, because of an issue that he has with Holland and Holland has him or whatever, you guys have decided no, we're not going to bring him, and then you make him a scapegoat.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Why goes every damn time?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that his agent came out and made a statement that basically saying that you don't know what players are going through. Something happened, whether it's in his personal life or not. I think it's alluded to in his personal life, but they're not going to get into it at this point in time. If Ben was sure he will, but doesn't have to. And I was like, that's quite interesting that they said that. So who knows what the real big story is? But ultimately, I think Southgate had a better duty of care to his player. Shouldn't have hung him out to dry. But I do want to talk about. I mean, I could talk about all the Arsenal players all day. It was joyous. You mentioned Kai Havertz, 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scores again. Love that he celebrated. Some players don't, but he did. Thomas Partey. We have only seen that midfield three on 2 occasions this season. The Super Cup, aka the Community Shield, and yesterday. That's it. Rice, Partey, Ødegaard as midfield three. We've only seen it twice. And you look at that match, and it really makes me think, I know it would have been a big risk, but the second leg against Bayern Munich, could he have given us half an hour? Could he have given us 45 minutes? Could he have given us something? And I know that the risk is, look, if he played that match and overexerts himself and gets injured and that's him done for the season, it might cost us the title. I hope the gamble plays off the other way and not playing him in that match plays off. But how impressed were you with Thomas Partey's return to the team?
It's a shame that his fitness has just really gone against him, because I remember the excitement when he first came in and there was a game against Man United at Old Trafford, and the difference he made in that midfield essentially won you the game. And for such a player who's a bit of a mystery at times, you've got some mysterious players in that, but when they're on the song, for the amount of time, for the little time they might be they play such an important part, and it reminds you of just how good he actually is when he's around people that it can, amplify his good qualities. When he first came over, who was around him when he first came over in that midfield?
So it was him, Xhaka,
yeah,
Ødegaard.
When he first came over, and
Odegaard came in on loan in the
Yeah.
January window, so it would have been him,
Xhaka, yeah.
Xhaka.
Terrell?
Nah, Torreira wasn't with him. But yeah, Xhaka, Odegaard. Let's say those three.
Yeah, and in the midfield he has now, that's a massive upgrade. Odegaard's only getting better every single season. Declan Rice is justifying his £100 million price tag every single time. Not just a good footballer, but also a good human being as well. Yeah, it's just a shame that he hasn't, it's just a shame that his fitness has gone against him. And it was I miss having that kind of quality in midfield. We just, talented midfielders we have, we just don't have that assurance there that's, able to put them at ease. On the touch on the Declan Rice thing, like, good thing standing by your woman against the damn trolls as well, man.
Honestly.
Good. I'm going to say this now. You guys out there that feel comfortable behind the laptop and cuss out someone, the mother of his child, you are sad. You are sad, and just stop. Like, how?
So
honestly, how?
Y'all need to get a life.
Disgusting, man.
Little incels. But like just on Partey, so we didn't have Odegaard when he first joined the club. Odegaard joined in the January window. So his first, he would have played when we had the 3-4-3. So it would have been him and Xhaka in the middle. I think we had Willian playing back then. Bukayo was playing kind of like a wing back, sort of wing back / winger at that time. Lacazette and Aubameyang. So it was him and Xhaka really as a midfield too.
That's an upgrade. That's a massive upgrade in midfield.
And then Smith Rowe came into the picture. So Smith Rowe was in the 10, and then you had Partey and Xhaka. And then we got in Odegaard. So it was Partey, Xhaka, Odegaard. And then that became the set. Yeah,
and he only came from a good midfield at Atletico Madrid anyway. So when he came to you guys, he had to start. It's like almost like he had to start all over again. So the fact that he's got better players around, sometimes all it just takes is having better, more assured players around him where you can change your game or maybe do the things that you want to do, like, more often, to be the player that originally came over that first time playing United and showing everyone up, because he's the kind of guy you have who's a cup-winning midfielder.
100%. He is a player that we... And again, it's just about the fitness. Like, we had such high hopes for him, and we really felt that we could build around this guy, and he was going to take us to the next level. And he has taken us to another level, but it's just that final step. So for me now, we've got 4 games left in the season. I expect Partey to play all 4 of them. I don't expect him to start all 4 of them, but I expect him to play all 4 of them. And I expect him to give us at least 7 out of 10 in all of them.
Yeah.
And if he does that, and Man City slip, then we have a great chance. And speaking of slips, just a quick update on the Premier League as it's going live. Now, again, as I said earlier, as you're listening to this at home, you know how these matches have ended. Liverpool are losing right now. No. Everton has scored the first goal, Branthwaite, to make it 1-0. Man United are also losing. Sheffield United have scored the first goal to make it 1-0. And Bournemouth are leading Wolves at half-time 1-0. Crystal Palace, Newcastle are still 0-0. So that is some really exciting results. Scoreline so far as of recording, as of the current present time. We don't know how these games are going to end, but you do know how it's ended. So if they stayed that way, oh, shame. But if they changed, well, that's Liverpool. And that's Man United. That's what I expect from these teams. So, I'm gonna hedge my bets. I don't know how this is gonna go, but yeah, I think that was definitely. You're right about Partey and his importance to the team, and I was really happy to see what he did. And you could see how much he freed up Declan Rice. I mean, Declan Rice had a chance in the first half when the ball broke to him in the box. He did a Zidane Cruyff turn. He did a Zidane turn, and he just curled it over the bar. Listen, when that ball went over in the stadium, all of us, we all just didn't know how to react. We all just were like, it's so close. This close. But yeah, and then I mean, just even looking back on Trossard's first goal, the run that Declan Rice makes, he is twisting up. He was driving in to the right, driving in from left to right. He goes right, he goes left, he goes right, then he cuts it back left. I felt sorry for Adam, the youngster Gilchrist. I felt sorry for him.
So did I.
Because he didn't know where to go.
It's not fair.
And then Leo did what Leo did. I mean, it's weird because watching that game again, obviously where we were, the stadium the broadcast angle is opposite. I was above that goal, looking down on it, so I could see Trossard's left foot and see it going in. Looking at it from the broadcast angle, Declan Rice's skill looked good live. It looked way better on the replay. I was like, I knew he did. I knew he twisted up the guy. I didn't realize he literally put him in a blender, put him in a spliff, and said, "Have a nap, son. This is big man football. You ain't ready yet."
Poor Alfie, man.
I felt for him.
Not fair, man.
That is not, and again, that's indicative of the manager. But before we talk about him, I want to talk about Thiago Silva. We know it's his last season. And not just me, several of the Arsenal fans, we all collectively felt it was an absolute, complete and utter disrespect. Not only to bring him on at the time he brought him on, which I think was about 4-0 at that point, right?
Yeah.
What do you expect him to do?
Just died.
What is the point of doing that sub? And I knew it was bad. I knew he was annoyed because when he was called to come on, I knew it was him. So that's Thiago Silva. He literally took his top, chucked it on the floor, his bib, chucked it on the ground. He didn't even want to come on at that point. And obviously, I know Bella had a few things to say online, but she's a ride or die. But I have to say, when you look at that, and I know it's a case of he wants to move the team on, and you're trying to find out different options what you can have for next season. I know in PSG, Enrique has had a few games where he's not played Mbappe, just to try and get the team used to him not being there. I get it on the one hand, but a match like this is a rival. This is a derby match against a team where you all and all your fans online were saying we're coming to spoil the party. We got something for Arsenal. We got something for them at the Emirates. You ain't had nothing for us, all right? You suffered your biggest ever defeat against us. And it could have been more. It should have been more. It should have been at least 10. And that's not me being arrogant. The first half, we created so many chances. But anyway, if you're a player looking to join Chelsea now, if you can even buy any more players, and you're seeing how the situation played out with Thiago Silva, like, what do you think that makes you feel as a player? And how do you think the manager should be treating a player like Thiago Silva and what he's done in the game and what he's tried to do at Chelsea?
I said at the start of the season, he's one of the generals because this is a guy who's captain around Europe. Never mind around in England, he's captain in Europe. He's won around clubs in Europe. AC Milan, PSG, Chelsea. The guy has travelled. He was Brazil captain for however long as well. This is a guy who's, arguably against the manager has more in stock than you do because he's actually gone ahead and won in the big things. He was one of my better signings. He was player of the year last year. He was a great leader when we're going ahead for the Champions League final along with Aspilicueta. You see him on the half. You saw when he came off in that Champions League final, he's in tears, but he's on the side cheering the man on. And that's someone that you want to listen to. And yes, this was his last year, but this would have been great for him. Let's say he may take on managerial responsibilities after he hangs up his boots. But it's a great chance for all these young guns, these proper young players we've got on this team to listen to a man who's been around and done it around so many things, worked with so many other players and be like, I seen this, and this. 'Cause I think in age, and the gap ain't that big between him and Poch. And to treat him like that, to bring him on as if he's going to do slow the goals down, the game's already done. And, it just highlights so many of the problems that we have. When Roman left, it unearthed so many problems that we actually had. And it was evident between Gilchrist and Silva. You put Gilchrist out because he had that one good moment against Everton in the space of a week, and you've marred that by putting him in the lion's den, wrapped around in meat and hot dog with barbecue sauce to get twists up. And then you bring on one of the best pros in football, in modern football, to think he's going to slow down a 4-0 defeat.
Honestly.
As a player who, if we were going to come in, you see them, you leave because of a manager at a job, I'm looking at him thinking, I hope they don't make that call. I have to be real. If they made that call to me and I'm a footballer who's got something about and I want to be, I want to give something into a team, but I want someone with respect come by on my name because both those players won it, I'm not so sure now.
But you know what? Credit to Thiago Silva's professionalism because he could have turned around and said, no, I'm not coming on. And we've seen players do that before where they've refused to come on when it's late in the game. I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo at Man United, which led to his eventual departure. So credit to him for coming on because he is a model pro. He might not have the legs he used to have. He might not have the spring. All the things, mate. He's old. He's not as young as he used to be. He's gotten older. He's mature as a player. But the guy is still a quality player. And I do not understand for the life of me why a game of this magnitude, you have nothing left to play for anymore. At least play for pride.
Yeah. Win your derbies. Do something in your derbies. I'm not saying that we would have won, but it wouldn't have got that much worse if he was there. He's such a reassuring presence for so many players on that team. You can't afford not to play him. Like you said, we've got nothing to play for. He's not having a contract for next year. Like, give him a good send-off. And this is going to put such a bad taste in the mouth. And another nail of why a lot of fans feel like we shouldn't have this guy in the dugout. You've just disrespected one of our best players in the last 5 years. And also disrespected one of our young prospects on the fact that he had such a good week last week. So it's like, where's the rub? Where's the line?
I have to share this line from Barney Ronay, who he wrote this in the aftermath of the game. He was at the Emirates. He's a journalist for The Guardian. He said this: Chelsea actually very refreshing to watch. So much heavy systems football around. Here's a team with no plan. His words. And then on Ødegaard, he said, Martin Ødegaard was sublime. Such an odd mix of roughhouse pressing and wonderful surgical passing, like being hounded to death by a poet. And I feel like those two statements perfectly sum up what we saw at that match. You guys had no plan. There's even a clip of Enzo Fernandez at the edge of the Arsenal box on the foot. He's got his foot on the ball. He's done a couple of stud rolls with the ball. Partey's in front of him. Partey's just shielding the space, just kind of like, pressing, but not over engaging. What does Enzo do? Does the ball roll left? Does the ball roll right? Ball roll left? Ball roll right? Ball goes left? Ball goes right? Turns around, passes back to centre-backs. From a crossing position, it ends up back at your defence. And I feel like that moment summed up your whole game. But for transitions, when Madueke was really rapid and Jackson was really rapid, you didn't really have much.
They didn't bloody
A couple
score.
of balls flashed across the box, which were dangerous at the time. Wasn't overly worried. Some fans were, I was all right. But I just think this has just been, your season as a whole has been terrible. You had the semi-final of the FA Cup as your last saving grace. And unfortunately, that's not really on Poch. He did what he could do with the tip players, and you just didn't have that clinical finisher up front.
The finishing weren't there.
Where do you go for next season? Because for me now, I'm like looking at things realistically. I don't know what you're going to do in what time's left in this season. You're sitting 9th on 47 points. You could finish as high as 6th with a massive... I mean, Newcastle had 50 points in 6th. Man United had 50 points in 7th. He had 47. You could target that as your aim to get in the top 6, which would be remarkable. It would get you back into Europe. Would it be deserved? No. But at the end of the day, you're Chelsea.
We need Europe.
Where do you see your team going from here?
From where we are.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. It depends on who's going to be in the dugout next year.
Do you think he'll go? Do you think he'll go? Or on the flip side, do you think he should be given another year to fix this situation whilst removing the people that need to be removed from your club?
Well, he's been part of the issue. Here's the thing. He doesn't deserve to be there. He does not deserve to be there. And if they announce at the end of the season that he's going with a viable replacement, I'll take it. However, with not necessarily knowing who he could take on. I mean, the amount of managers, like we can't just simply go back and turn back time and go for a manager in the past. That's not simply going to work. So the simple fact is we might not have much of a choice but to keep him, to fix this mess that he has had, to start a new, fresh, have a set plan. In any job you go, and I've said before, in any job you go into, you need to have some sort of plan of what you're going to do in the future. And at least then you can rely on it. So when I'm my line of work, I plan out by day for the 5 hours or 6 hours and I'm there. You didn't have a plan for when you're on there for 90 minutes. You said, go out there, just don't let them score. And we didn't do that. We barely did that. It would have been better if you just said go out there and defend. That would have been fine. But we don't have that. And the only time we ever beat anyone is when they're bad. We beat Everton, but we beat Everton. Well, yeah, we did have work to do, but because they were bad, they were rubbish. he's got to. Let's say we get into Europe. That might be something of an incentive to actually try and improve on what we've got. Get rid of some of these players, sort out the squad, find a squad that works. For you, remove some of the dead wood. All the guys that keep getting injured, it's like, giving them some kind of incentive to stay on. Certain guys like Sterling, maybe reduce the player time that he plays. Tie down Cole Palmer to a watertight, a watertight contract that makes him untouchable or whatever. Sort out the striking situation. Get Jackson some shooting practice. Sort out the defense. Get more discipline in the club, because for the 6-0 we had against Everton, it was forgotten because of the whole penalty incident.
100%.
And then when you play the game, when you play against a team that's way more disciplined than you, it shows. Okay, more direction, more efficiency, more discipline, more plan, more this, more that. You can. He doesn't deserve to be there, but at the same time, it's like, you want to give somebody a second chance. We could turn around next year and completely turn it around. You never know. But I don't know. If you ask me, I don't know who else is out there that can take this job.
And who would want to take the job as well.
And who would want to. It's become the England job. We've got a whole bunch of individuals. You got a guy you got a guy who's been thrown to the Lions, an owner who's far more concerned about selling shirts and actually playing football. We can't just get Magic One to get a Gareth Southgate in to go. Bad example, I know. But you can't get someone in to turn it around all of a sudden. The FA Cup and the Carabao Cup were there for the taking. I'm sorry, they just were. We should have won that game on Saturday with the chances that we had, and at least have the opportunity to get to the final. If he got to the FA Cup final,
it would have changed a lot.
It would have given a slight bit more credit, the fact that he's got to 2 cup finals. Okay, whether he won them, I don't know. But look, European football is out there for us to get. It's still possible. And I just think maybe if we get the European football, it might be just the 2% that brings them over the line to be like, you're now in European football, don't mess it up. This is, if anything, when you're under more pressure, it forces your hand to be that bit more organised. It forces your hand to plan. It forces your hand to, get some discipline in these players. So maybe him getting into that off chance of the European spot might just do him a little bit of good. But if you ask me, he doesn't deserve it.
Might do. Quick score update. Man United have equalised against Sheffield. It's now half-time. Harry Maguire, player of the season, gets the goal.
Is he actually?
Well, he should be. That's just weirdly enough. I want to end with this. Some quotes from Mauricio Pochettino. There's rumours that his replacement has been lined up already. But here's what he had to say post-match. It's the first time he's questioned your ownership. He said quite a lot. I'll read through these statements. He said, "We took the risk when we arrived here and now need to accept and need to try to be positive to help. Positive to help. Because if we want to be better, we need to realise, be clever in this way. We assess the things that we are doing, the plan. The circumstances are bigger than the performances of the players. We cannot blame young guys. The strategy for the future should be better, and in our analysis, try to be very clinical in our decisions for the future to help not to be in this situation in the future. I'm not going to blame the players. The circumstances are bigger than the performances of the players. We cannot blame young players. After suffering some circumstances, you need to come here and fight against a team who's preparing to win the league. That is why we need to be careful. We cannot be unfair with our players. Of course, we're disappointed with the performance, but I'm not going to use words that are unfair." Clearly pointing shots at your ownership.
To be fair,
usually, he's not wrong in what he's saying, but usually when managers start coming out with statements like that, that's the beginning of the end. I mean, Gary O'Neill's done a similar thing with Wolves. It might not work against him. He might be all right. But managers don't last long. Lopetegui had the same complaints at Wolves, ended up getting let go for Gary O'Neill. So, Poch, whether you're right or wrong, you're not wrong in what you're saying.
No.
But I don't know if Todd Bowley's going to take that very well, considering you had Thomas Tuchel, and the whole reason for him leaving is because of a falling out over transfer policy. So, where do you go from here?
He's still our best manager. Thomas Tuchel is still actually our best manager.
Just take him back. I mean, he wouldn't come back.
He wouldn't come back. I'd have him. I'd have him because he would actually get something from these players. He'd actually get a bit of a tune because this is a guy who knows the club, who knows maybe one or two of the players that might still be there. He knows, and he's he likes having a point to prove. You know, the poor finish with the Bundesliga, still in the FA Cup, FA Cup, the Champions League semi-finals. You know, he comes in and proves a point. You know, if he loses here, comes back at Chelsea next year, could do something crazy there. Who knows? But yeah, you don't know what. It's a case of you don't know what you got until it's gone. And since then, he's still been our best manager with Potter, Frank, and Poch. He's still leaps and bounds ahead. At least he got us in the top bloody 4 twice. So yeah, I honestly do not know the names wise who could come in and do the change in the time frame that he wants, that Todd Bowley wants. Because it's what do you want? Do you want to go on this thing of trophies? Or, you know, we said before ages ago, do you want to go down the route of purely being on trophies, or do you want to go down the route and putting on good football for your fans? If it meant going down the route of putting down good football for the fans at the risk of not having trophies all the time, you know what? If you made it clear to the fans, they'll understand and they'll take it. It's a new direction we're going down. Roman's gone. We're moving into a future now. If you want to go down the route of playing sexy football with the odd chance of getting a trophy, making it a great atmosphere, just be clear about it. Just be clear. Or do you want to go down the Galactica route of winning every single thing out there that's possible? Make it clear. What do you want? You know, there's no clarity at this club. I know what you guys want. Unfortunately, we know what City want. I know what Liverpool want. I could go as far and tell you what someone like Wolves want. And Brighton, for a good example. But what do we want? What do we want?
And on that note, I'm going to wrap up this week's podcast. Thanks for listening, guys. Let us know how you feel about that result. If you're an Arsenal fan, let us know how you're feeling. If you're a Chelsea fan, let us know. It's currently still in the Premier League 1-1 between Man United and Sheffield United. 1-0 to Everton at Goodison Park. Crystal Palace and Newcastle is 0-0, and Bournemouth have gone 1-0 up against Wolves. This is one crazy season. It's all still to play for. Everything hinges on results and performances. And who knows, as Everton have something for Liverpool, as of recording, of course, Brighton might have something for Man City. But we'll all find out today. See you all next time.
Peace.